Hi gang! In this video we're going to make drawstrings. I have some great techniques to show you. If you want me to keep making videos, let me know by clicking the like button. And don't forget to subscribe. Let's get to it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is create the eyelets. So grab an ellipse tool, click on the page. We're going to draw an ellipse that is 4 points by 4 points. Click OK. Let's go ahead and give that a white fill, and I'm going to give it a 5-point stroke, or sorry, a 0.5 stroke. And you can see it's small. We're drawing this to scale so that it'll be the right size to put directly on your flats. Let's zoom in really close so we can see what we're doing here. All right, now that we've drawn the circle, we are going to make a second circle. So I'm going to double click on the scale tool, and we're going to scale this circle down 50%. We want to make sure that scale, strokes, and effects is not checked, and click copy. And now we have two circles. Let's select both of the circles, and we are going to exclude. So we're going to go up to Pathfinder, and if yours isn't open, you can find it under Window and then Pathfinder. And we're going to use Pathfinder Exclude, which is the one on the top right. And what that just did was punch the hole out of the center. You can see now there's actually a hole in it. And now we have our eyelet. So let's make it into a symbol so we have it whenever we need it. Just click on the little plus sign, give it a name, and click OK. And you've made your first symbol. Let's go ahead and put this in place. It's going to live right about there. And let's also click O to reflect, Alt or Option click right on the center here, select vertical and copy to place one on the other side. And just so these stay put while we're working, I'm going to select both of them and I am going to lock them. The next thing we need to do is create a graphic style that we can use for our drawstring. So I'm going to take my pen tool and draw a path. I'm going to open up the Appearance panel, and we are going to change the stroke weight to 2 points. We also want to make sure that our stroke has round caps and round corners. We don't want to fill, so let's make sure the fill is set to none. Now we're going to add a second stroke on top of this stroke, but we're going to add it to the same path. So we're just going to click on the little stroke icon in the corner, and you can see now we've got two strokes. We're going to leave the one on the bottom as is, but we're going to move to the one on the top. We're going to change the color from black to white, and we're going to change the stroke weight to point. Actually, let's try 1 point and see how that looks. That looks pretty good. Change to 1 point. And this is now our drawstring. We're going to go to Graphic Styles. We're going to click New Graphic Style. And we're going to double click on it to give it a name. And I'm going to call it 2-point drawstring. And we're going to be using this for the rest of this tutorial. All right, let's go ahead and make some beautiful tied drawstrings. Let's first just do a knotted drawstring. I'm going to grab my pen tool and draw a path that goes from the center of one eyelet to the center of the other, and click on our graphic style that we just made. Now, again with the pen tool, I'm going to start up here, and we don't want to add an anchor point. You'll notice when I hover with the pen tool, it pops up with a little plus sign, meaning it wants to add an anchor point. In order to get it to start a new path, you hold your Shift key, and it changes the plus sign to an asterisk, and then you can go ahead and click and draw. So here's my one path, and again, I'm going to click on my drawstring graphic style. Hit enter, and I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to click and drag and hit my 2-point drawstring. Now, if you want to give a little movement to these, you can grab the anchor point tool. The shortcut key is Shift C, and go ahead and click and just manipulate these a little bit. What I like to do is start near the top and move it away a little bit, and then grab the handle on the bottom and drag it back the other direction, and it gives you a nice kind of flowy shape. I'm going to do the same on the other one. We'll curve this out and then grab this handle and curve it back in. And you can pull it up or down, whatever you want to give it a nice kind of flow. And then the last thing we need to do is create a knot. So one more time with the pen tool, I'm going to draw a path that goes just right across with a little bit of a curve to it and click on my graphic style. And now if you like, you can do a little finessing, but we're basically done. I'm going to grab one of these and just push it up a little bit so I see it peeking up above here, and that kind of helps with the illusion of the knot. And I'm going to nudge this one over just a little bit so this really feels like it's wrapping. If you want to get a little bit fancier with it too, you can create knots on the bottom, and I would do it the same way. Grab your pen tool and you're just going to draw a tiny little curve like so and click on your graphic style. And we can do the same thing on the other side. Draw a little curve and click on your graphic style. And there you go, your first drawstring. I recommend that you select the whole thing and go ahead and create a new symbol. Give it a name and click OK. And now whenever you need this particular drawstring, you can drag it right out of your symbols. All right, let's do another style. I'm going to delete this one. Let's do one that's a bow but isn't tied quite so tightly. Again, I'm going to start with my pen tool and I'm going to draw a path that goes straight across from one to the other, and we will apply the graphic style. I'm going to select my anchor point tool, click in the middle and drag this down a little bit so that we have a nice kind of drapey piece that's not pulled quite so tight. And now we can go ahead and draw our bow. Now another option, if you don't want to use the pen tool, is to go ahead and use the pencil tool. You can draw these two pieces with the pencil tool and still go ahead and click on your graphic style. So for this one, I'll do it that way and click on the graphic style, but I still find it much easier to draw the loops with my pen tool, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, and then come back up here and click and drag again. Notice I'm not starting and stopping on the same anchor point, and that is because I just think it looks better when we keep this little black line dividing the loop. I'm going to do it again on the other side. I will click and drag, and then click and drag to get the other loop. Click on the drawstring, and we're almost done. Again, hit enter to release the pen tool, and then we're gonna do another little curve across here for our knot. And this is where we can start finessing things a little bit. So if you need to, you can nudge that up or down a little bit. You can nudge your pieces over a little bit and just create something that looks right to you. So I am going to do that, and I think I'm going to move this control right bracket so it's up a layer in front of that other piece, and I'm going to move this here a little bit, and there you go. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Let's just take this whole thing though, the knot and the bow and these pieces here, I'm going to group them together. And I'm going to nudge them down a little bit just so that they look like they're tied correctly. When they were up here, they look like they were kind of sitting on this rope here, but we want them down lower so they look like they're really knotted into it. And we can do one more thing here, and that is to maybe create aglets to put on the bottom. An aglet is that little plastic piece that you see at the end of a shoelace. So let's add an aglet. All you need is your rectangle tool. You're going to draw an aglet that proportionately looks right to what you're drawing. We're going to go to the stroke panel and give this a 0.5 stroke. And I suppose I should give this a fill, white fill. We'll make the stroke black. And it's, as I said, 1.5. We want the aglet to be a little bit narrower than our drawstring. So let's zoom in here a little bit closer so I can really control this. I'm going to select it and make it just a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to grab my anchor point tool. Again, Shift C is the shortcut. I'm going to curve the top down just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And there's our aglet. And once again, I'll grab that aglet, drag it into the symbols, give it a name, and now you've got another symbol to add to your library. To move it into place, I drag it up so it's in line with the bottom of the drawstring. Then I click R on my keyboard to rotate. I click right over here to create a pivot point, and then I can click and drag and rotate this into place so it's following the direction of my drawstring. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I can grab my aglet from the swatches, drag it out onto the page. We'll move it up, and actually this one is already in the right direction, so I don't have to do anything to it. We'll zoom out a little bit to take a look, and there is your sort of drapey tied bow drawstring. Let's select it again. I'm going to group it together, Control or Command G, and we will drag it into our symbols, give it a name, click OK, and let's move on to another one. Let's start over here, and we are going to draw. Let's do this. Let's go from here to, we'll do it a little bit off center. Here to here, and then down. And we're going to go back to our graphic styles and apply our graphic style. We'll do another one on the other side, from here to here, and then down. And apply the graphic style. And now we're going to make a couple of knots. But before we do that, we're going to take the white arrow. I'm going to go ahead and click on the anchor point in the corner part there and drag it to soften the curve on both sides so it just looks a little bit more relaxed. And now we can create a knot. We're going to grab the pen tool again, and for the knot on this one, we're going to do one that goes across like this with a tiny little curve and give it our graphic style. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to do it again. And it's okay if these overlap a tiny bit. It actually kind of helps. And now we're going to select these two pieces. I'm going to group them together, copy them. I'm going to paste in back, Control or Command B. I'm going to hit R for rotate, click to put the pivot point on this left side, and then rotate those two pieces down so they're on a slightly different angle. And then with my arrow key, I'm just going to nudge them over a little bit so they're kind of on this side. Maybe nudge them up a little. I'm just kind of finessing them to get them into a place that makes sense for me. And now I'm going to grab just this lower anchor point and push this one in a little bit. And that feels pretty good. I think I am happy with this. There we go. And one thing you can do at this point is save this knot. We could just drag this right into the symbols and give it a name. And that way, whenever you need the knot like that, you can just drag it right out. And I'd also like to go back. I'm going to grab my anchor point tool again, Shift-C, and let's give this a little bit of movement, maybe some curve. Oops, come on, click. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for this one, give it a little bit of a curve so that they have kind of a soft movement to them and not a really stiff drape. And now that I've done that, I feel like I want to smush this in a little bit more. And now let's go ahead and curve these just a little bit so that they feel a little more relaxed. There we go. That looks pretty good. Grab that drawstring and add it to your symbol library. This one's going to be a little bit different. So instead of using our graphic style, we're going to go to the stroke panel and we're just going to use a 2-point stroke. And we want that to be black for now so we can see what we're doing, and we don't want to fill on it. So no fill, 2-point black stroke. I'm going to start inside the first eyelet. I'm going to go down a little bit, up a little bit, and then down, making a little zigzag. And then I'm going to switch to the anchor point tool. I'm going to give this a little curve. I'm going to switch to my white arrow, which is shortcut A on your keyboard. Click the anchor point, grab the corner rounder, and slide it down to make a soft curve. Maybe we'll go about that far. And then we'll grab the other one and do the same. so we get this nice little curve going. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Grab your pen tool, and on the other side, we're going to click in the middle. We're going to go down, up, and down. And again, we'll grab the anchor point tool, give this a little curve, click on A for the white arrow, click on the anchor point, use the corner rounder to drag it in, click on the other one, and use the corner rounder to drag in a curve. See how there's a little bit of white showing in between the two loops on this side, but there isn't on this side? We're going to need to make sure that we have a little bit of that white showing. So with my white arrow, I'm just going to grab this anchor point and try to nudge it up a little bit on my keyboard, and maybe nudge it over a little bit so that I have a little more wiggle room. We're going to select both of these paths. We're going to go up to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. This turned the stroke now into a shape. Hit D for default on your keyboard, and then we're going to go back to the stroke panel and change this to a 0.5 stroke. And maybe that's kind of thin. Let's go with 0.75 for this one. We'll make it a little bit thicker. Now what we need to do is make this look like they're actually intertwined. I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to go over here to the Shape Builder tool, which is these two little circles with an arrow. I'm going to click on the Shape Builder tool, and we're going to do a little magic. I'm going to start at the left end, and I'm just going to click and drag through these three pieces, and it's going to unite them into one solid piece. I'm going to do the same in the middle, click and drag through these three pieces, and then I'm going to do it one more time, click and drag through these three pieces. And now we have the effect of these paths being intertwined. And that is how you do a little untied drawstring. Once again, select it and drag it into your symbols so you have it to use at a later date. Now that we've done one where we did outline stroke, let's do one that's kind of a flat looking tie using a similar technique. This time we're going to have no fill, a black stroke. We're going to again do, well, let's do a 3-point stroke this time. We'll make this a little bit thicker, but instead of a round cap, we're going to change it to this flat cap on the end. Grab the pen tool, and we're going to draw a path that starts there and hangs down however long we want it to hang down. Let's give it a little wiggle. I'm going to go to the pencil tool. I'm going to double click on it and just make sure that the settings are Keep Selected and Edit Selected Paths. Nothing else needs to be checked. And we'll click OK. And now I can just sort of drag over this a little bit and get this to become more of a wavy kind of shape. We are going to outline stroke now. So Object, Path, Outline Stroke. We'll hit D for default and then change the stroke weight to 0.75. With the white arrow, I'm going to select one side, and because of all these anchor points, we need to select all of them. So the fastest way to do that is to use the lasso tool. I'm going to grab the lasso tool, and I'm going to select, and we don't want the bottom point, so I'm going to stop just short of the bottom point. And now I'm going to copy, Control or Command C, paste in front, Control or Command F. I'm going to nudge it over. And now we want to change this to stitches. So in the stroke panel, we'll change the stroke weight to 0.25. We're going to leave this round. I'm going to turn on the dash line and set it 1 point, 1 point, and make sure that this button on the right is pushed. And we don't want to fill, so we'll change that fill to none. So now we've got our little path that is stitched, but we still need to deal with how this would be finished on the bottom. The bottom would be turned up and sewn. So we're going to click, and the first thing we create is our stitch line because we were just using our stitches. And then we're going to do this one more time, make a second line, and this line is going to be the hem. So we're going to turn off dash line, and we're going to turn the stroke weight up to, what did we do, 0.75 for the other lines? We're going to match that. Yes, 0.75. So now it looks like a turned hem with stitching. The last thing we need to do is make it look like it's actually coming out of this eyelet. So let's zoom in. I'm going to grab the white arrow, and let's see what's going on here. Perfect. We have 2 anchor points that are here. If you don't, you want to add a couple that are just a little bit down from the top, because now what we can do is take these upper ones and manipulate them so that they look like they are coming out of the eyelet. You can even grab your anchor point tool and give this a little bit of a curve if you really want to get fancy. Yes, people, this is what I do late at night when I can't sleep. The rest of you play video games. I make the most ridiculously detailed symbols to use in Illustrator because I am crazy like that. And now, of course, you're going to select the whole thing, group it together, and we can click O to reflect, Alt or Option click on your center guide, vertical, copy, and now you have a lovely pair of these drawstrings. And of course, you are going to add them to your library for future use. Let's throw in one more for good measure, and this one, more of a drawstring I think that you would use on a hoodie, but it's really cool, so I think we should do it. I'm going to start by making kind of a loopy thing. So I'm going to click and drag, and then click back to close to make a loop. But I'm not going to intersect and close. I'm going to go just a little bit past, because again, I don't want to close the loop. We'll go to our graphic styles and click on the drawstring. Hit enter on the keyboard, and we're going to do it again. I'm going to click and drag, and click closed. Hit my drawstring, enter on my keyboard, and I'm going to do one more. I'm going to click and drag, click, and drawstring. Let's select the one on the bottom, hit R for rotate. I'm going to click at the end of this to make my pivot point and just drag it down a little bit. We'll select the next one, and I'm just going to nudge it down a little bit because I think they were a little bit too on top of each other. And this last one, I think we'll nudge a bit, click R for rotate, click to pivot, and we'll pivot that out just a little. So I'm basically just making this a stack of loops, and now you can manipulate them. I think I'm going to squish this one a little shorter. That looks great. Select them. I'm going to group them together, Control or Command G. I'm going to reflect them, so O to reflect, Alt or Option click, just right over here, vertical, copy, and there is my other half of my loops. I'm gonna, let's go ahead and move these a little closer together, and I'm gonna reflect them again. I'm gonna double click on reflect, and this time, instead of vertical, we're gonna reflect horizontal, so it flips them in the other direction. Click OK, and just nudge this down into place. Now, with the pen tool, we can go ahead and draw a little loop here that's wrapping around and hit our graphic style. And in this case, I think it's going to look better with 2. So I'm going to do another one that clicks from here to here. And there's our graphic style. So now we've got this nice little bundle. Last thing we're going to do, I'm going to group this together. Well, I guess I'll hang it from one of these, but I think it's a little bit big for shorts. This is the kind of thing that would look great on a hoodie. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm actually going to smush this a little. We're going to put it here. I'm going to rotate it just the tiniest little bit. And here's how we use this. We're going to do a drawstring that comes from our eyelet to this side of the loop and then goes to the other side of the loop. We're going to click over there and then hangs down. Give it our graphic style. We are going to go right click, arrange, send backward so that it's behind our little bundle. And to make this look a little bit more natural, we're going to grab the anchor point tool and we're going to curve this out just a little bit this way. And we're going to curve this one a little bit this way so it has a more natural flow. Then, of course, you can drag out one of your aglets. And again, we put it where it belongs. Click R to rotate, click for the pivot point, and then rotate it right into place. And there you have it, a nice coiled little drawstring. I hope you found this useful. I hope you learned something. And for those of you who are not up to doing this yourself, I do have a complete set of these symbols in my Etsy shop, and I will leave a link below. If you learned something new, please like this video, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Help me keep my channel going. I'll see you next time.